All right, so today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. I've titled it Science Fiction or Science Fact because I knew that if I put science fiction, probably more people would show up rather than science fact, which it is. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Whenever I have the opportunity to talk to people, I like to think about it as a journey that I get to be on together. And I want people to be able to take away from this presentation a few things. Chiefly, I want everyone to leave here with an understanding of what AI even means. Because right now, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about it, and there isn't enough clear information. So I'm going to be doing a bit about that. I'm also going to talk a bit about how is AI being used today. Ed Walters, who's right there, talked a little bit about AI yesterday. And I want to talk a little bit about outside of law, where you see AI being used. And then I'm going to use that to show that if it's happening outside in other industries, what can be used, how can AI be used in law as well? Then I want to talk a little bit about the dangers of technophobia, the fear of technology, and then I want to leave folks with an answer to what you can do today. So first off, I put on that music video and I had a little robot in my first opening slide because I think that little robots are very cute, but AI is not a robot. AI is actually not something that's going to come out and attack you. There's no 50-foot robot in Silicon Valley. I moved there about a year back. I haven't seen it. I also haven't been able to find the robot army of AI lawyers that are supposedly going to come take all our jobs. I will keep everyone posted on my findings on the ground. What AI is an umbrella term. And it means, generally, artificial intelligence is teaching a machine system to do something that was typically thought as a human task. That's what it means. It's very general. And so when you have a general definition to anything, there's a lot of creativity with that word, and that's why you see a lot of kind of the hyperbole being used in the media, et cetera. But really, this is what AI is at its core. Artificial intelligence being at the top as the umbrella term, and then you have a couple main tenets underneath. And so those tenets are machine learning, which is the learning, the speech, vision, and language. You've likely heard, if you've picked up a newspaper, read a blog about machine learning. I've actually seen some people say, I don't believe in AI, but I think machine learning is great. You can't say the two because machine learning is actually part of AI. But what is machine learning really mean? Well, I think what's important to know about machine learning is what it's doing and what it's replacing. So what you see here is lines of code. For those who are really interested, it's Java. And that's how traditionally our systems were designed and kind of trained. You would program a system to do certain things. So it would be if-and statements. If the user touches the print button, it'll do this, X, Y, Z. It'll communicate with the printer. And then there you go, you get something that prints out. Why machine learning is fundamentally different than this is because it involves the ability to actually have the machines start answering and doing things that you hadn't programmed them to do. So to use an example from law, perhaps you program an AI system to do some contract review, you show it to different examples of what to flag, it actually may flag something that you didn't train it to flag and say, hey, do you want me to look at this as well? And then what you can do is say, no, that's fine, and it'll continue to learn from those interactions to actually be able to continuously get smarter. So machine learning does not look like this, although, again, I kind of wish it did because that's really fun. For those in the crowd, and I'm going to touch on this later, what you see there in the images is that these machines are learning how to classify an image. That's image classification going on there, and it kind of stars all your favorite robots. So I wanted to include it because it's CleoCon and let's have fun. What it is that input. Machines are able to start drawing connections and start to be able to use and learn from your interactions with them and get smarter and smarter. Now, everyone in this room, or at least probably everyone, has been training these systems for quite a long time. And who here has seen one of these? CAPTCHAs. All right, we got some. We got people. All right, how many people are in the room today? All right. So what you're seeing here is a company, and what they do is this. One of those words, they know what it means. So perhaps they know that morning, you have to be able to answer that to make sure that you're not a system. The other word, in this case, overlooks, is actually a transcription from a book. And what they're doing through these multiple inputs is actually training a system to be able to transcribe text. So you can scan it, and it can automatically read books. And they actually tell you that in their own unique way, stop spam, read books. So everyone in here has actually been a machine learning trainer. So that's a huge congratulations already. We're making progress, and we just started. It is not, I've always wondered when I see those things what they're trying to stop, though, in terms of a robot actually trying to get in. So I saw this comic, and I thought it was pretty neat because that robot, unfortunately, cannot do the CAPTCHA. So the second tenet I want to touch on is speech, also something most folks in here have interacted with as well. Speech is what you see with systems like Google Now, Cortana, Siri. And that's the ability to communicate out loud to a machine and have it understand you and execute on a command. And so we see this already in place, as anyone who has a friend or who has an Alexa, the joke in Silicon Valley is, how do you know who in a room has an Alexa? Don't worry, they'll tell you. But what's neat about that is, once these systems start to come out, they layer on that machine learning, and that's why I went through that first. And those systems continuously get better. And so, you may be in a situation where you ask an Alexa, not to pick on Alexa, but whatever system, and you're like, man, that didn't work at all. It's learning from that. And it's not just learning for you, it's learning for everybody. So each time it's screwing up and it's getting retrained on what to do, everyone in that ecosystem is benefiting because they've layered on that first tenet. And that's why I went over machine learning first, because it gets layered on in addition to all these different areas. All right, so vision. I'm very excited about this because what's incredible with vision is that you start having machines being able to interpret our world, the outside world. So they're able to see images, they're able to see video. Maybe they're able to be, and I'll show you how this is inputted, a lot of this technology in self-driving cars. They're able to perceive the outside world through various ways, and you saw that classifier on that slide. There's many ways that you break that down, but let me give you an example of what machines can do right now. This isn't tomorrow, this isn't next week, this isn't 5 years from now. This is happening right now, and this is what a machine learning visual AI system was able to do. They saw that picture, and it was able to use various techniques, and the machine was able to say, you know what, this is a group of people shopping at an outdoor market, and there are many vegetables at the fruit stand. It's pretty incredible. It's happening right now. And here are some other examples, and it goes from successful to non-successful. So on one side, you say a person riding a motorcycle on a dirt road. That's exactly what that is. You have two hockey players are fighting over a puck. That's the depth perception problem, if you see that. The next one is a little girl in a pink hat that is blowing bubbles. Nope. You have a red motorcycle parked on the side of the road. That's a pink Vespa. So you have success to non-success. But like I said, it's always getting smarter. They're layering on machine learning, and these systems continuously get smarter and smarter. And so I mentioned hockey. I'll use another Canadian analogy. When you have a whole bunch of really great packed snow, you can do a lot of really neat things with it. And what you could do is you can just start with a small ball of snow, and you push it down a large mountain, and it starts to pick up, and then you can actually build a snowman much quicker. It's a Canadian trick. And what I like to bring that analogy into what you're seeing today with artificial intelligence, because what's happening is all these things have been pushed down that mountain. These systems have already begun to start learning. And what's really neat is out of the box, they're already getting things correct, no errors, and can be very helpful for us in a variety of different ways. The last one is language, and that commonly in AI is referred to as natural language processing, which is the ability for a system to be able to understand the way we communicate. So not just out loud, you would pair this with that speech, for example. But we write text for humans. We write them ourselves as humans. And we don't put things in columns and rows in ways that machine systems typically can read things. And so natural language processing allows you to do a variety of different things that is extremely powerful. And so one of the big wins of natural language processing was what you saw with Watson on Jeopardy. Really dense questions. As anyone who's ever kind of had food in front of a television set trying to compete on Jeopardy, they're tough questions. And it was able not to just, and Ed touched on this as well yesterday, with chess, you could brute force that. There's only a finite number of moves. But with language, especially the way we write and the way we communicate, it could be, interpreted in many different ways. So it's very unique to have a machine being able to actually understand what you're saying, what you've written, how you've written. And then what they're starting to do now is start to do sentiment analysis. So was the person angry? Was the person happy? So these are all things that are in motion right now. I've used this example in the past, but it's very difficult to get signs from the Moscow metro system that wasn't this one on the internet. But this is from the Moscow metro system, and it says, exit to the street, exit to the city. Now, why I bring this up is, say that you were there, you don't speak Russian. You're standing underneath this sign, you can go to a book, you can try to find each word, and try to say, okay, what does that mean? You're gonna have some difficulty. You can do the try, test, and true. Well, let me see if this is what I really want. You might end up where you need to go. You might end up in the wrong place, come back. You might be fortunate enough to have someone walk by and say, hey, you look like you're lost. Do you speak English, and help you? Point is, if you're in this situation, you'll probably be able to find out what you need to do. It's just how long is it gonna take for you to be actually to find out the information you need. And that's what we're seeing with the systems that we're using today, is that we're speaking two different languages. Without this AI-enabled technology and systems, computers don't see and interact and understand things in the same manner as we do as humans. And so what they do see, for example, is a cloud of words. And that's very hard for them to decipher. It's kind of like a phone book. They'll look things up and come back. It's very static. It's not dynamic. But what you can do with AI is actually start to have a conversation with a system that understands you completely. And I think that's what's most exciting. So now that we have the primer down, and Bob, I will be quizzing you on that, let's move into how is AI being used today. And before we talk about the law, I want to talk about how AI is being used today in other areas. So I originally, when we moved, we started Ross Intelligence up in Toronto, Canada. We moved to Mountain View. And in Mountain View, we used to see self-driving cars on the road like multiple times a day. It was pretty crazy. One time, it pulled up into our driveway and was practicing. When you're watching like something and a car pulls up and you go, who's that? And they use it as a U-turn. They were teaching the self-driving cars to do that trick too, which I thought was neat. And so I'd see them all the time. And after seeing them, the first day I took a bunch of pictures. I sent them to my friends and family. I tweeted it. I saw them on the second day, I saw them on the third day, I saw them on the fourth day. Eventually I was just like, they're just self-driving cars. Yeah, that's, people would come visit, be like, is that one of those? Yeah, they're here. They're very commonplace. What happened there was that technology became invisible to me, and I'm gonna touch on that later on today, but I wanted to bring that up. And so this is technology in place today, and how do self-driving cars work? Now everyone is an expert now, because we went through that primer. Here's what self-driving cars are seeing, an example of that. They're seeing a whole bunch of stuff. They're doing visual recognition on what's a dog, what's a human. They're using radar. They're using sound. They're using a wide range of that technology, all then enhanced by machine learning to ensure these cars continuously get smarter and better. The other thing that is really exciting about this technology is that, if this car was to, misinterpret a sign and, speed and get a speeding ticket, they'd be able to then program that into the car, and so that it wasn't just that car that learned from that. It was every single car on the road is able to learn and scale out that learning. I think that's very exciting when you think about what you could do with that in a variety of industries. In finance, we have AI high-speed traders. So, financial and people who work in finance, even over a very long career, you start to get an eye for trends. And you start saying, if a stock's going this way and it does this, I usually do this and I usually do that. But as humans, we can only recall a certain amount of information. We can only actually see a whole bunch of situations. And so what you have with these AI systems is they've been able to not only see thousands and hundred thousands of examples of past trades, they're able to instantly collect them and then start to learn based off of the moves that they are making as well. And so that's something that's already live and happening in finance. This is an area that I'm very, very excited about the use of AI in, and that's in healthcare. And what they're doing is a whole variety of things. There's AI, a friend of mine has an AI company that's looking at different drug compounds, so you wouldn't even have to necessarily test them on animals or humans. You'd be able to actually test with certainty what they're going to do in a human body based off of running simulations with AI. So that's pretty neat. But the example that I want to talk about is what you see with cancer and tumor detection. So we talked a little bit about that visual ability to see things. What people have done is they've trained hundreds and thousands, millions of images of a variety of different tumors. And when, say, a doctor in a rural hospital who doesn't have a whole bunch of resources for this technology to see things, who doesn't have a ton of experience, they'll be able to run that image through a system and have that system suggest possible outcomes and what it could be. And so here you have a clear example of AI, and this is happening today as well, really furthering a pretty major field, health. So I looked over with you already what AI is. We chatted a bit about how AI is being used in transportation, in finance, and in healthcare. Does any of what I said sound outlandish and crazy and like super sci-fi-ish? Anything? This is all like, everyone's like, that's okay right now, because I'm going to start talking about how it can be used in law. And let's have that attitude. Come with me. Because I set you up. All right, so how can it be used in law? Well, there's a variety of different companies in the space. And so I don't have enough time for a whole bunch of shout outs, but there's a whole bunch of really awesome companies building with this technology in law today. So you have the ability to do more efficient contract review. You have the ability to look over and do predictions on outcomes of patent cases. You have the ability to really streamline your diligence efforts, your e-discovery efforts. And this is all live today. Now, if we can train a car to read images and not hit a dog while a ball rolls across the street and a kid's running and it's raining and the signs just changed last week, but that's already been uploaded into it, why do we sometimes think to ourselves, well, there's no way this technology can do anything in the legal space because what we do is just so unique? Well, I did it for 6, 7 years myself, and there's a ton of things that are extremely unique to human capabilities. To be able to train a system to do some of the things we do as humans, we're selling ourselves short that we keep having these headlines replacing our jobs. But let's be honest, there's a ton of things that we do that are administrative, that are, what we always like to say is that grunt work, they repeat themselves. And I've already shown you that machines learn through finding these trends, these repetitions. Being able to go in and find passages of law that help you do your legal research is actually something that machines are doing right now too. This is the plug for Ross, so watch out, you can plug your ears. But what we do at Ross Intelligence is a task that was pretty much almost the bane of my existence, which was, hey, you know what, Andrew, can you do don't do a deep dive because the client's not going to pay for this, but can you check out what the law says in regards to X, Y, Z? And that happens, and that email comes to me, maybe it's 7 at night, maybe it's 8 at night. I'm at the office anyway, so don't worry about it. I'm going to stay here all night. And being able to go through all this data and be able to find what you need, it's really hard for us to do. And the systems we currently are deploying to do this, while they have some use of the different technologies that I've mentioned, they weren't born on these technologies. And a lot of the breakthroughs we've made in AI technology have happened within the last 1.5 years, 2 years. And so what we do is you can interact with Ross, and it's your trusty assistant. You can ask your research questions to it in as much depth as you'd like. What is law regarding X, Y, Z in this district versus this? You could ask questions about, with unique time periods between here and here. And what Ross is going to do is not bring you back hundreds of links to cases, thousands of links to cases, forcing you to open them and then print them off because you don't want to read them on your screen. And then I got all my highlighters going, and I know my system. And that could take me hours, and it did take me hours. But with ROS, you can get that done in minutes, if not seconds. And what's really neat, and what we're really proud of, is that ROS asks you questions like, hey, was this helpful for you? And it continues to learn every single day. And so we've been at it for a year in our current build, and we started with basic legal research. Then we added on something called our Law Monitor, which was the ability for ROS to keep you up to date with any changes in the law regarding the questions you're looking for. Not cases, the actual entire question. And then we sat around and asked ourselves, what comes next in this process, which is taking a first stab at, legal documents. And so we like to build things with a narrative at ROS Intelligence, and what we're aiming to do is build a system that you could be in line at a movie theater, and you get that dreaded email, whether it's from a client, whether it's from someone else at your firm, and says, hey, can you send over what this is, or have you ever dealt with a case about this, or I need an answer to this question pronto. And if you're in line and you're waiting to get popcorn, we want you to be able to, by the time you get to the front of that line, have sent over a memo, have sent over background, and set your alerts so that you're all up to speed on that, and so is the person you're interacting with. And we're well on the way to do that. So, ClioCon's a lot of fun, and we just came out with a ROS commercial, and so we're going to play it, and it's a world premiere of a commercial. So you can all tell yourselves, I know it's geeky, but I'm having too much fun, so let's put it on.
Todd's an exceptional lawyer with tons of clients. Todd doesn't understand artificial intelligence and probably thinks machines could take over the world. But in an ever-changing legal market, he knows that he's got to remain competitive. But Todd's stuck in the mundane and repetitive task of legal research that's weighing him down with unbillable hours and hardly any time to focus his time on what's most important, his clients. So Todd turned a new leaf and put his trust in artificial intelligence with ROS, his own personal artificially intelligent researcher. ROS has access to a vast legal database that effortlessly reads through and finds numerous answers for any legal question. You can ask ROS questions in natural language, the same way you would any other lawyer. ROS runs in the cloud, can be set up in seconds, and literally takes just minutes to master. ROS gives Todd more time to focus on his clients. So join Todd and hire ROS today. Purchase a subscription at rosintelligence.com. Let ROS help you accomplish more than you ever thought humanly possible.
So there it is. Thank you. That always is great to see too, because I'll talk about that in a second. When we started ROS, we came out of the University of Toronto AI Labs, and there was this breaking technology coming out, and we knew we could apply it to law. But when we started, it was just a group of people in a basement in Toronto with a hope and a dream. And to be able to be here and talking about it, and to have aligned ourselves with the partners we have, and the fact that we've started selling ROS about 10.5 months after we even started building it, has been a dream. So it's very fun to be able to actually have a commercial that explains it. These are the small joys in an entrepreneur's life that I wanted to share with you guys. But let's keep having fun here. I like to sneak in Patrick Swayze slide in a variety of different ways, because I think the analogy with Knight Rider, you have the kit as the car, and whenever you're in a bind, that's what we see this technology being. It shows up when you need it. It's there beside you, and it enhances your abilities. It's not replacing you. You still need that Hasselhoff mind to be able to do what you need to do. And also in this picture, the human's up front, and the piece of technology is behind it. It's helping that human accomplish much more. And I think that's what we're going to continuously see with all those different tools in the AI ecosystem in law. And so right now with ROS, we will be available in every practice area. We see ourselves as that tool that will be put in the hands of every lawyer around the world. The benefit right now for us with working with our early customers is they have a lot of say. They help us become better, and we continue to improve and add new feature sets into ROS we haven't thought of. So I have some shirts, and I'm going to already give you a heads up. To be able to get one at the end, I want you to tell me an idea about how you think AI could help your law firm or your practice, your organization. It doesn't have to be research, it could be anything, and just start thinking about that. So why is all this important in 2016? Well, a variety of reasons. but the dreaded charts that I'm going to show you, I'm sure some of you guys have already seen it. Growth and demand for law firm services is flattening out. I myself started at a 4-lawyer law firm, and I saw that in my practice, but I also saw the boon of that in my practice as people started leaving large law firms and started hiring some of the partners at my law firm. So I think wherever you see a chart like this, you can see tremendous opportunity as well. This is, I think, very telling, is that not only is the growth flattening out, what we're able to bill our clients, which is that top line blue, is going down, as well as what we're able to collect from them. But let's not freak out, because, as I said, there's a variety of tools out there that can help you become more efficient. And so we went into legal research because that's where clients were pushing back the most. And so, when it came to the old way of doing things, you have the question happen, and then what do? We throw time and money at it. It's going to take us 10, 15 hours to find that answer, which then we can't bill for, and it's like quicksand, because then you get that other client, then you fall behind, and you need to keep going, and it costs a lot. Blue Hill Research Group did a look at how much the average associate across the United States is not billing for research, and found that it was $60,000. If you have a firm of 20 lawyers, it's over $1 million of losses a year. So instead of being in a situation where you're doing things the old way, you're burning through your cash and your efficiency, before you get the answers you need, you can use a system like Ross to be able to do that for you. And so we hear at this conference that there's change afoot in the industry, that we ourselves have to change, but sometimes it's like we still want to use the same technology and the same tools. And so I love this quote: "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." So whether you use our system, whether you use another system, I don't care. What I want people to start doing is to start thinking about the ecosystem out there, whether it's enabled by AI or not. There's great tools that are very, very basically programmed, but do wonders for your practice. And so if you can take away anything, this is one of the takeaways: start thinking about ways that you can change things and implement one. And if it works, bonus. If it doesn't, try something else. You're going to land on things that make you more efficient. I guarantee it. And so I wanted to wrap up today by talking a bit about the dangers of being technophobic, because I think that that's traditionally something that we see not just in law, but in a whole bunch of industries. When new technology comes out, it's very interesting how humans tend to react to it. And so technophobia is the fear or dislike of advanced technology or complex devices, especially computers. And so let's start a long time ago with the printing press. So the printing press comes out and people just lose their mind. They start saying things like, this is going to lead to the end of humanity. These evil machines. What are we going to do? They produce books. They're going to melt our brains. Who okayed these things? These are like Satan's spawn. These machines are going to take our jobs. What are we going to do? And I love this quote: "He who ceases from zeal for writing because of printing is no true lover of the scriptures." And so I love that analogy, because sometimes I get asked, Andrew, you talk about artificial intelligence in the law and this ecosystem of tools, but how are these people going to really truly love the law if they don't learn it the way we did, which was super, super painful? And I'm like, guess what? That's just not going to happen, because I think everyone here remembers calculators. I remember distinctly a bunch of my math teachers being like, "Andrew, you put that calculator away because you won't learn how to actually add and you're going to become stupid." And now I have a calculator on my this is not that expensive. This thing right here the technology in this landed people on the moon. And now I have it in my pocket, and one of those things is a calculator. So think about that. But anyway, let's get back to this. He who ceases from zeal. So they asked me, how are they going to actually learn, and how are they going to care? Well, they care, but they don't want to actually go through a situation which is super, super painful. But this is what people thought. And so this is great. I love this. "Destroy the printing press, I beg you, or these evil men will triumph." Wow. And so that was in the 1400s. But here's the thing, watch out, because I'm going to show you multiple examples, then we're going to get up to today, and let's see who's laughing. So we have 1400s, this happens. And then I was looking for multiple examples of this, and it just never, like, I found so many. I found washing machines. If you use a washing machine, households will be broken. People will not love each other anymore because there's not actually work being done for each other. And then what the institution of marriage, what's going to happen to that? Dishwashers, same thing. I was going through and I wanted to put everything in here, but I couldn't because I have time limits. But I will hit some main ones. So here we go. The computer. I love the computer. This is probably one of the first that came into my household. I look young, but I am very young. But I used to use a typewriter for my early reports, and then I got a computer, and that was pretty cool. But when a computer came out, it's like, why do we need a computer? I have a typewriter. It's super easy to use. If I need to underline something, I use a ruler. I know how to do that. What's a word presser for? Word compressor? I don't know what this is. Also, it's too expensive. You know, these things are gonna, I don't know, I've never asked how much they cost. I've never really done a deep dive in what they do, but I'm gonna talk a whole bunch about how they're not good, is what you commonly saw with that. And what you ended up getting were quotes like this. There's no reason people would want computers in their home. And that's Ken Olsen, who was the head of a technology company at the time. Poor guy. It's 2016, and he's being used as the don't do this CleoCon slide. Hats off to you, Ken. So, email. It's hard to get an image that represents email, but this is the best I could do. When email came out, I go on Google and look at this stuff. You're going to have a laugh. It's really, really fun. Here's a great one that came out about email. Emails hurt IQ more than pot. Wow. Okay, now this is really fun. This is a little nugget that I really loved. Check this out. Almost 2 of 3 people checked their electronic messages out of office hours and went on holiday. Some of you guys have been doing emails and sending attachments in this conversation. This is what you get whenever new technology comes out. You're going to get weird headlines. You're going to get weird reactions to it. People are going to start saying a lot of things about it. I love email because it was a very close example about what you see with the reaction to AI and RAW. So let's see what else happened. Look at this. 1985 now. And it's a small publication. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called the New York Times. Very small, regional. And they wrote, when all is said and done, electronic mail is no more efficient in the vast majority of cases than the telephone or the postal service it is supposed to replace. So someone read this, and they were sitting at their office, and someone came up to them and said, hey, you know what? I think our organization could be a lot more effective with email. It's this new thing, instantly send messages back and forth, and they put down that newspaper and looked up and said, no, that's a fad. That's hype. It's not really going to be more efficient. I read it somewhere, very credible. This is what I really like, this one too, same article. As a general means of information exchange, the concepts are technologically intriguing. It's fun, but they are economically naive and, more importantly, no more convenient than the existing alternatives. No one's laughing now. I don't know what, laugh though, right? So this is to lighten things up because I love Douglas Adams, and also sometimes when we were training Ross early days and it would get we were waiting for an answer to come out, we just wanted to program it to say, what was it, 42, right? The answer from Hitchhiker's Guide. I will let everyone else read it because you hear my voice a lot right now, and I'll give you a few seconds there because I really like it. You don't want to be that image of your law firm saying whatever. And it's not just about AI. I'm going to make that clear. I use this as a way to talk about this. It's about AI. It's about any technology. It's about doing things differently. And it's about using technology to enhance your firm and law firm's abilities. And so please, just experiment and get creative because we already see the market. You need to. So don't be a slide at CleoCon 2021. So what is the danger of being a technophobe besides being put on a slide in the future? Well, this is really the danger. You miss out on gaining a competitive advantage and providing better service to your clients, period. So all those people who didn't, start instead of, those, I feel bad for that monastery where those Benedictine monks were just writing things out. And they were like, hey, you think maybe we could get a printing press? Maybe we can speed this up? They were like, no. If you have that, the evil men will triumph. Or how many lawyers and administrative staff ask lawyers and law firms, hey, you think these typewriters are cool, but I think I could do a lot with a word processor. And they were like, no, computers are a fad, and it's crazy. I never had one. I'm a great lawyer. Why do I need one? So there was this lag, and there's always this lag in between technology being available and it being adopted, and that a lot of the time is a reaction that really hurts you. And the last one was that email. I mean, imagine, hey, can we start sending emails instead? You know, we saw earlier that a lot of lawyers still don't have a website. I mean, come on, we got to get websites. We got to do a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not hard. And there's people at this conference, there's people around that are here to help. And I'm not saying this to chastise. I'm saying this because I want you guys to have that secret information that allows you to do much more at your organizations. So that when people say, how come you are attracting new clients? How come you're doing so well? Most importantly, how come you're smiling and not hating your life all the time? It's because you're like, you know what? I actually tried this new thing. It auto-populates forms, super easy to use, and I'm off to the races. You know, I got sick of looking at the same contracts over and over again and highlighting the same clauses, so I tried something. You know, I didn't want to spend 10 hours looking for one passage of law on something really niche, you know, and so I used technology to do that. That's what I'm talking about here today. And so I played a trick on everyone, and I apologize, and I mentioned it earlier. I titled this Science Fiction or Science Fact because I knew some of you might show up for the science fiction part, but as you see, it's science fact. And I think the real question we should be asking ourselves is not, hey, you know, is this real or not? Because self-driving cars are on the streets in Pittsburgh, because law firms are using contract review, diligence, AI, e-discovery AI, legal research. This is happening today. And so the real question is, how can I start using artificial intelligence in my practice today? And there's a variety of different ways. For folks who are interested in that other slide and finding out more about the ecosystem in general, or if you'd like to find out about Ross, you can email us at team@rossintelligence.com. We're happy to make introductions for our friends in the ecosystem. And if you do have a bankruptcy practice, we can get you up and running with Ross, as you heard, instantaneously. I keep hearing from different folks in the space that, wow, I would never have seen this output at a legal tech conference. And I've been very fortunate to come into this space with Ross, with my team, and build on the work done by a lot of amazing people before us. So at the end, I'd like to just thank everyone, A, for listening to me speak, but also Clio, the organization, and everyone in the space, because they welcomed me in, and you guys have welcomed me in as well, and I thank everyone for it. So thank you.